La Encarnación in Madrid in 17, what did it say here? Yeah, 1711. And so, yeah, there are several different Villancicos here. For example, the second one is one of the ones I'm transcribing. It says negros, so this is Villancico de Negros. And the first one is usually the most solemn, the second one. So, yeah, what here, for example, we have like people speaking in black speak. There's like Z instead of S, R, L instead of R. So this was like a trend. Generally, it like didn't. It was like not a literal mimic of how Black African people spoke, but more of a trend. And the performative element, for example, we see here like numbers 1 to 1. This is different characters speaking, but there's no like, it's not so visible. And so what I want to do in my digital edition is to highlight this performative nature. Some Villancicos, not these ones, but also have the musical annotations. The Villancicos de Negros usually name Black African music or Black African dance, and so what we imagine is that they were performed without music on the background.
But then, as we'd have to imagine, people dressed up as black people who are white, or actual.
That's an interesting discussion, actually. It has been generally thought that this is white people with blackface, but why couldn't it be black actors? So, yeah, we know there were black confraternities in Spanish churches. Confraternity was a group of people who aided one another. And so, yeah, there's black confraternities commissioning Villancicos to be performed. And so we can imagine how differently this text would be received by a white audience or a black audience. So this is an interesting thing to think about. Yes. So, what I'm...
If you just turn any more pages, I'll do it.
Yeah, of course, if you want to, yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the quality of the paper, what would you say? Very cheap. So if you, it shows through the ink.
Yeah, so this is proof of, like, it was cheap because they wanted it to circulate.
It's done in two columns to maximize
the space. There's a lot of abbreviations. So digitalizing it would be interesting to see where there are other chapbooks or copies of the same chapbook to know more about how this text circulated. So see, or say if we found same chapbook in Seville or in Valencia or in Mexico, so that would help us understand the circulation of these texts. There's also...
How repetitive also the woodcuts are? Have you looked at how much it's repeating?
Yeah, this one's right. There's a very interesting thing about this collection, is that it's quite modern. It's like 1700s, and most Villancicos that have been studied that are in Madrid are earlier, were published earlier, and not in Madrid, but in cities like Valencia or Sevilla. And so most of these ones were published in Madrid, which makes us think of the centralization of the state and how Black African communities, which were previously in more commercial cities, started to be displaced as enslaved people to the capital. Yes, so there's a lot we can take out of this. So and in this book, for example, we not only have Villancicos, but we also have, like, this is like a handwritten index, and
shall I? I'll move it onto this support here. Yeah. There we go.
We don't know if they were bound in Spain or here in Oxford, how they arrived here. But yes, that is something I've tried to ask the curators today, because this collection, the Arch Sigma, is just very enigmatic. It's just a bunch of Spanish works no one knows. So we have lots of Villancicos here as well, and there are like other texts regarding the War of the Spanish Succession, which had a major British presence. So maybe there was some circulation of British people taking Spanish texts here. Yes.
the decal edge.
To divide, well, looks like that's just to,
Oh, is it-
to divide the, you know, to cut the pages.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's just not very nicely done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very roughly done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the binding is just a makeshift parchment cover
Okay.
rather than leather bound.
That's why I'm being a little bit delicate with it, because it can crack. It's very,
Yeah.
it's very brittle. It's very
Okay.
brittle, so I don't want to open it too far, unfortunately. Sorry.
Okay, no,
it's
no,
just
no,
one
no.
of those things which
Yeah.
will crack more easily. And
Yeah, maybe there could be like a rethink of the cataloging of these chapbooks, because they have no particular order whatsoever, so it's very difficult to say, because we have here number 3, number 4, and there's no like general title for the volume.
right.
So yeah, maybe that's something I will also point out in my project. Yeah.
Could I ask something? How consistent are the features in the text of Blackspeak, like across the texts?
Oh, quite consistent. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Like it was like one author mimicking another author. It was like they all did the same. Even very prestigious authors who also wrote Villancicos, like Góngora or Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz in Mexico, they wrote exactly the same way, which is like L instead of R, Z, mistakes in gender, yeah, these sort of things.
And that one we saw had the title Negro.
Yeah.
But do they all have
They
that?
all have, for example, if they depict gypsies, they also say gitanas, or if they depict French people, it's français. Yeah. So
It's very much stereotypical characters.
very,
Yeah.
very stereotypical.
But then if
Yes,
the-
for example, here we've got negro again.
Yeah.
But if the black fraternities then have them performed,
Hmm.
they're kind of appropriating it and
Yeah, they're quite
giving it
appropriate. So
to
this is
degree.
another reading. Yeah. Just rethinking what it means, and yeah. Yes.
Then, yeah.
Most of them are designed for the festivity of the Epiphany, which is like very popular in Spain. We call it Dia de Reyes, which is like the three. Well, we don't have Santa Claus. We have the three Magi who bring us presents. And so there's
Somebody spilled a lot of ink.
Yeah. And so since there's a black king among the three Magi, Villancicos, the negros, are very popular in the feast of the Epiphany. Because they
So
are
the Black
supposed
King
to be-
also has black speech then?
No,
No.
but they are supposed to be accompanying the king to
Ah.
Bethlehem. To yeah.
So it's also a class thing. So the
Yeah.
Black King speaks royal, and
Well, the black
their
king never
servants-
speaks.
Oh.
It's yeah.
But there's tradition of dressing up in blackface, isn't there, to be the king? It's still
Yeah.
happens.
It's
So
still in some places of
you
Spain.
could-
There's
yeah,
a
you
lot of
could suppose that
blackface.
comes from people doing blackface in the past when reading out the text.
Yes,
That's-
but maybe there were
But
also
also-
black actors.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a history in the U.S. also of black actors also using blackface.
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, well.
I have a professor you should talk to about this actually.
Mm.
Studies racing comedy.